it says bridge builders, crafting solutions, critical thought. I didn't want to get too overly complicated on it, right? Uh, Definitions here, critical thinking, right? And please feel free to unmute yourselves, chime in, right? Tell us what your conversations are, right? But really just the ability to think more clearly and rationally about things, right? Um, we use this in our daily lives as well in our strategic thinking in our businesses, or even our strategic thinking probably in formulating that transition plan if we're in job search mode at this point in time, right? I think when we think critical thinking, we often think that we're just talking about ourselves, right? How do we approach things? And I will tell you, I want you to think of it from a different dynamic today, because critical thinking doesn't always have to just be you. In fact, I would encourage you to invite more people in. I love it when we all have conversations in this group here and we all can come out with potential solutions that just Rodney didn't think about, right? Or that just Lamar wasn't able to come up with, or whatever else. And it allows everybody's voice to be heard, but also creativity comes out of that, right? Can thrive from that, because I don't know what Lion's perspective is on things, right? I don't know what Jeff D thinks about everything, or his biases that might exist, or whatever else, right? And so it only behooves us to bring more people in. The process itself is real simple, right? We want to analyze what the problem is, right? What is the situation that we are trying to provide a solution for? We want to evaluate, right, to provide relevant information that might be feed into the solutions that we have, right? We want to understand what are our limitations, right? The interferences that are out there that might stop us from being able to move forward, or whatever, right? Or actually have good numbers, or information coming forward. And then we want to be able to articulate that, right, to our teams and others and those that are around us that are going to help hold us accountable to achieving those goals. And benefits of critical thinking have far been advanced over the years. Obviously, I think back to my Navy days, right, guys? Many of you guys know I was in the military and 25 years in the nuclear Navy. And I think one of the things, and I read this statistic this morning, we have over 532 reactors that have been in place over the years in the Navy, right? 7,500 reactor years. And that might not mean a whole lot to you guys, right? But here's the statistic. Not a single nuclear accident logged, right? How did we get to a point that we were able to accomplish so much success over the years that we've been doing this, right? And I attribute it to the fact that uh, the nuclear Navy, right, especially, it was a foregone requirement of our operators, right? Admiral Rickover said, I want my operators to be able to think, not just regurgitate material that they found in a textbook. And then furthermore, when we do have a problem or a near miss, that we can dive into root causes, right? To be able to put in effect solutions or implement solutions, right? That will never allow that near incident occur again. Okay. And I would say, as we move forward, right, today, we're going to go through some scenarios and stuff in groups. I want us to be able to understand issues, right, as individuals, as teams, as they apply to maybe us. And I don't have scenarios that apply to us. I've got scenarios to practice what we're talking about, right? But you're going to come up with things. Last week we talked about, we had people introduce themselves just briefly and kind of say, hey, where my problems lie, or where are some things that I'm having issues with. And this is where this is coming to play. I want us to be able to understand what the issues are, right? Be able to simplify that problem solving process in place, right? And I already mentioned the importance of root cause analysis. Why did this occur? Well, why was that an issue? Right? And continue to ask that why until we can't ask it no more, right? Until we don't have any further answers. And I think we can find root causes. And in the end, we always had in the Navy, right? I'm going back to my Navy days. There was one of 7 reasons that something would occur: people, right? Processes, materials, right? We would put it all down to those things. And 9 times out of 10, guys, it was people, right? Was the problem. The people were making decisions, uninformed or ill-informed, uh, to something that they did and they didn't know. Knowledge was always a big issue, right? Having understanding of the theory and stuff behind things. And so surface level symptoms are just that. How many of you guys have been in organizations? I'm curious. I'm going to stop sharing for a second here. How many of you guys have been in organizations like all they like to do is put band-aids on shit, right? Excuse my language, right? But they put band-aids on stuff, right? Julie's laughing, right? That's so I said, I remember being in manufacturing, right, where I was trying to get these guys to say, hey, we don't need to work 80 hours a week overtime because really, if you fix the machines right, in the first place, you wouldn't have to be here every Saturday and Sunday putting band-aids on machines just to get through the next week and stuff, right? You could actually eventually that circle of life has to come back around, right? That when the machines start operating better, they can stay up longer, and then therefore overtime isn't needed as much, which means profit starts to rise, which means eventually pay levels and stuff like that has to come back down. Does everybody agree with me on this? Right? Am I living a pipe dream thinking that way, or that's reality, right? But when you get people so accustomed to this is the way we've done things for so long, right? That we feel like the only way we can actually make a good living is if we're working 60 hours a week overtime, Lonnie. Right? Right? Instead of doing things right, we'll just keep doing things the way we've done them. Right? And so we've got to get to the bottom of things sometimes to be able to really understand where it's rooted and how we can correct the issue, right? If you plant a tree on rocky soil, what's the likelihood that it's going to grow and produce fruit?
Not very good.
Not very good, right? And so if we uproot that tree and we take it somewhere and we put it in a nourished land, maybe even a pasture, right, that already has natural fertilization that's taking place, right, with the cows and everybody else that's around it, right? That tree is going to be more likely to produce fruit, survive, and maybe even go on and produce additional trees for us in the future, right? And I think everybody here would agree that if we have an opportunity to create more out of what we've been given, that's always a good thing, right? Create more goodness out of what we've been given is always a good thing, as opposed to destroying what we have in our hands. So, keeping that in mind, right? There are a lot of things that go into critical thinking, but today, as I said, I want to talk about how this applies in a group setting and how we hopefully, Lion, I don't know what you do, man, but I'm assuming that you're some kind of an entrepreneur or solopreneur. Yes, no, maybe, right? Do you do business all by yourself, or do you have a great group of people around you that help you to strategize what you're trying to do?
By myself currently.
By yourself. Have you ever had a mentor or a coach or anything like that along the way?
Not any direct that I paid, so no.
It doesn't have to be paid. I've got a lot of mentors and coaches on this group right here that I don't pay. Maybe not monetarily, right? I hope that Lamar and Dave and Jeff and those guys, right? They all feel like there's some kind of value that I give them. Otherwise, why would they keep coming back, right? But I think collectively, if we look at people that have been successful over the years, right, it's not because they've done it all themselves. It's because they figured out a way to tie into the strengths of people like the Daves and the Tims and the Lamars and everybody else to figure out how can I utilize that, right, to help me elevate my goals in my career. Does that make sense to everyone? Right. So today, I want you to explore the dynamic really that takes place within a group setting, right? When we are doing some form of critical thinking. And so we're going to keep moving on here. I know I'm not, I skipped a couple slides and stuff, but we're going to come back to some of this, right? And so this is the important thing. We're going to go into a group activity, right? And we're going to split you guys up into groups of 2 and 3. I've got some scenarios that we're going to post here in a second. And during the time in your group session, one, introduce yourselves if you guys don't know each other, right? So you get a chance to know who each other is. And I think the importance of that is understanding what the strengths are and maybe the limitations are of the people that are within your group, right? And then I want you to take the scenario that you're going to be assigned and really kind of start to dissect it in a manner that you might not be able to provide solutions at the end of the 10 or 15 minutes, right? But that you start to dissect it and start to understand what are the challenges, what are some of the things that could keep us from achieving success in this nature or whatever else, right? And so start to use your critical thinking processes, right, to maybe dissect it, maybe provide some solutions right along the way or whatever. But in the end, the goal is going to be to share what dynamics did you experience, right? What were some of the limitations within the dynamics of your group and things like that that maybe kept us, right? Or again, accelerated us to success within the group itself. And so let me shuffle up some breakout rooms here. We've got, I should probably put more than one breakout room, huh? Perfect.
You
I've
want to
got,
show a slide with your question to discuss?
yeah, I'm going to show you the scenarios here in a second. So I want you to, so group one, all right, Bob, Julie, TK, Tyler. Group two is, hold on. What the heck? Wish I could share that. That's not right. It would make it easier. All right, so actually, I lowered them down a little bit here. So group one, Habib, Julie, Ron, and Tim. Group two is Jeff Hexter, Jill, Lion, and Yash. Group three is Dave, TK, Tyler. Group four is Jeff D, Lamar, myself, and Bob. So we're going to open those rooms up in a second. Does everybody understand what room they're going to? It's important here because I'm going to share the scenarios in a second. Room one, right? So group one, right? Habib, Julie, Ron, Levine, and Tim, somebody screenshot this. This is your scenario, inconsistent team performance. And there's some of the challenges that you might foresee, right? Coming in. Group two, did you guys get that all screenshot? Group two, Jeff, Jill, Lion, and Yash. Product launch delays. Product launch delays. Hopefully someone's got that screenshot. Group three, underutilized customer data. Underutilized customer data. Underutilized customer data. And group four,
Ooh.
it's off the chart, right? Brand, I can't even read it myself. That's bad. Hang on. Company sees steady increase in operational costs, including rent, utilities, salaries, and raw materials. While revenue remains stable, profit margins are shrinking, and leadership needs to find ways to reduce expenses. That's group four. So I'm going to open up the rooms, guys. You're going to have about 10 to 12 minutes to discuss. And then we'll come back in, again, sharing the insights of maybe the dynamics that you experienced in your room. Awesome. Awesome. Bob, I'll just let you know, like, so part of my classes that I'm taking right now, right there, they are financial statement analysis and stuff like that, right? And uh, uh, first of all, I hate it. Okay, I'll just be honest with you. There have been many thoughts of mine over the last couple months, right, while taking these classes that were exactly the sentiment that you just expressed in our breakout room. Everyone else is like, "Ooh, what was that? What was that? What did we miss?" So, awesome, guys. Well, hey, I mean, so challenges, benefits, right? What did you guys experience inside of your group dynamic? I'm not worried about the solutions to the scenarios, but what was your experience with two or three other people that maybe you hadn't had interaction with to solve a problem like this before? Nobody?
Everybody had something to add, whether it was a little idea or a big idea or an expansion of an idea. Everybody offered something of value to the group.
We had the same experience, Jeff, that I think people
I-
listened.
I can't be true, Bob. We never had the same experiences.
Oh. Well, let's not go. Never mind. I was going to say something off color, but
It's about hair, about haircuts.
I think the questions that everyone has, right, that are going to be different, right? I mean, I know, this is from Bob and I and Lamar were in the same room together. I mean, we came in and Bob said, "There's not enough information here. We need numbers," right? And I wasn't thinking numbers. I probably would have dove in and started trying to figure out, okay, who are we firing so we can save some money or whatever else. But um, he says, let's figure out where the biggest problem is before we start attacking something that's only going to give us an inch of ground, right? Versus something that could give us a foot of ground or something like that, right? So the questions that we ask and the perspectives that we all have are definitely huge. What else? Was anything surprising to anybody?
May I add to it, Mr. Rodney?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. So for me, I really enjoyed just listening to all the deeper analysis about the critical thinking that went into this problem. Like it was like the wonderful people who were doing that. It was just levels beyond my comprehension. And I really enjoyed just hearing about all the possibilities of how this problem could arise and where can we just look or dig deep to find out that root cause of that problem. And instead of just going for that solution, just trying to take it slow, to take it a little bit, you know, to just try to understand where the problem really begins with. And I know that it's like a multifaceted problem because there's different levels to it, but I really enjoyed how there's just how critical thinking via deeper analysis can help you understand these things in a much more clearer way.
Yeah. So, and listen, I didn't get all fancy, right? I had Chat GPT write up these scenarios for me. I didn't have to think about stuff too much. But I said to Lamar and I said, if I could have wrote up scenarios that said, "Hey, I've been in transition for 6 months. I've had this many interviews. I've passed out this many resumes. I've never had a second phone call or a second interview or whatever else. What is going on, right? What is the problem?" It's the same thing, guys, right? It's posing a problem that may be bigger than what you're capable of providing resolution to, and just being able to invite other people in and say, "What do you think the problem is? Where am I going wrong? Or what can I change about my process that's going to help improve it?" And that's whether you're in transition or you're in business or whatever else, right? And so along the way, we also have biases, right? I'll be honest with you, right? Bob, maybe I didn't realize this or just passed my mind because Bob, in my mind, for the last 4 or 5 years, has been the guy that helps people out with resumes, people that are in transition. His whole goal in life is just to give back right now. And I wasn't thinking about his past life of being in accounting and things like that. And so he came in and brought back this life of that I forgot probably Bob lived at one point, right? And stuff. And so there was biases about me because I was like, I don't know what Rodney, Lamar, and Bob are ever going to be able to figure out about how to cut expenses in in a company's organization or whatever, because that's not wasn't our forte in my mind, right? But everyone, as Jeff mentioned, right, everyone's got something that they were able to bring to the table. Okay, and so
I'd like to add something.
yes,
An observation and just to add to this is that I think the stage was set very well. So Jeff, I was with Jeff, Lion, and Yash, and we had two new people in the group, and Jeff really opened up and prepared the scene, the setting to be comfortable so that we could all share. So I think that's really important that when you're talking about critical issues or problems, that upfront just scene and expectations and trust is created.
that is so important. How many of you guys have been to a meeting, like a corporate meeting or something like that, and they want everybody to speak? At least that's what they say, right? But there are going to be people in that room, right, that are probably afraid to speak up, afraid to voice their opinion, or afraid to say something because they're like, oh, they won't like that idea, right? I mean, Yash and I were at this meeting this morning. There was probably, what, 60, 80 people there, Yash, or whatever, right? I mean, and we're all in smaller groups and stuff, but I guarantee you there were people just within my group of 6 or 8 people that didn't speak up, right? They were okay with everybody else doing all the talking and everything else. But that means we are missing out, right, on their creativity or the perspective that they bring, right? So perfect, Joe. Thank you so much. What else, guys?
I was intrigued by Dave's point that when expectations aren't clear from the top, from leadership, everyone just kind of goes rogue, and the point is missed. The reason everyone is there together is completely getting just flat out missed. The people that are being paid literally might not even understand the clear objective. So it starts at the top, filters through all the way to the bottom. But there's a lot of rogue taking place in organizations, unfortunately. That could be due to a lack of resources, poor leadership, both. But Dave articulated that very well, I thought.
I mean, all of us have probably been in some kind of a group dynamic before and stuff, right? When it comes to how many of you guys have heard of Storm Norman, Foreman, and the 4 steps of organization, basically, of creating a successful team? Tyler probably knows more about like what the name of it is or whatever, but I threw you in this group. You're literally trying to do all 4 steps in a 12-minute period. I understand that, right? But it definitely behooves us all to get into your group and say, okay, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your limitations, right? What are the things that you're bringing to the table, allowing everybody to kind of go around and share how they might be able to contribute to the organization or group or goal that they're out to achieve, right? I'm going to keep going on with this because we're going to wrap some things up. I hope, right, that as we move forward, as you guys, there we go, that as we understand how powerful this can be, whether it be by ourselves or within our groups, right, that having the ability to understand everybody around us, encourage empathy. I think Joe was kind of getting onto this, right? That creating that environment that people feel comfortable coming in and going, this is what the problem is, or this is what my issue is, or this is where I'm not able to move forward with, or this is where I need help, right? Because most people don't ask for help when they need help, right? Avoiding those biases so that we can eliminate the thought of, well, this isn't, this person isn't going to be any good, or this is the only thing they can do, or whatever else, because we're all capable, I think, of so much more than is typically on our surface, right? Encouraging open-mindedness. I think one of the things I've loved probably since the beginning of this group 5 years ago, right, was that everyone comes in with the thought that we all have something to learn from each other, and continue to learn from each other, right? And so we want to keep that openness when we're in our group settings or our team settings, or that we're inviting other people in to say, hey, this is my business and this is what I'm trying to accomplish. I want to understand how you might be able to fit into this puzzle to help me either just have a better mindset or just to understand finances better or whatever else it might be, right? Because everyone, I think, has a piece to your puzzle, okay? Always being encouraging of different perspectives and trying to understand the diversity that can come in and play a big role in this, right? So I'm going to jump to the end here because I think refining those solutions go a long way, right? But we all have the ability, right, to utilize critical thinking in our everyday life, right? In our journeys that we take in our businesses, in our transition, whether it be in our teams that we're coordinating at our jobs or whatever else it might be, right? And I think the more we can find ways to utilize it, right, the more creative solutions we can have that will probably put things in place like the Navy has done, right, that allows things that are negative to never happen again. How different would your life be, right, if the thing that you felt stopped you from achieving your last goal was to never occur again? Not to say something new won't pop up, because it can, right? But if you start thinking about, I stopped reading, right? Or I started listening to audios more than I did reading, right? And there's definitely lessons, that people learn and retain information a lot differently when you're reading and writing versus just listening and stuff like that. And so if you found yourself that you were on this upward trajectory, then all of a sudden it kind of plateaued because you turned to audios more so than you did reading, right? Maybe that's the problem, right? So how do you create the habit that is going to continue to get into the books and actually read materials, not just listen to materials, right? Things like that. And so it's imperative that we learn how to put things in place, right? And rely on others like yourselves, right? To provide solutions to our problems in the world. So any questions, comments, last minute saves before we roll on here? Introductions for today. Mr.
Rodney.
Lyon.
Hey, Rodney, can I just make a comment?
Whoa. Yeah, go ahead, Nancy.
So I put in the chat, I love management by strength. It's the red, blue, green, yellow. Go and do the free test, figure out which one you are. It is so much better than dissecting who people are. Then I can't think of what the other one is. What's everybody make it with the letters? I can't think of what that's. Myers-Briggs.
Myers-Briggs.
I can never remember Myers-Briggs, but I can remember a color. And it's really kind of fun when you actually can assess somebody in conversation, so you know the right way to communicate with them. A red person is very direct. They're in a hurry to go to the bathroom. They don't want to know about the details of your weekend. So with them, you have to give them a very brief, quick Cliff Notes end result. It's really effective. I learned it 40 years ago, and it's just always been very effective. It's just kind of fun, because then when you know what they are, I think you have the upper hand. When you're interviewing anything, it's fun.
That's a derivative of DISC, the four things, and colors are a great way to make it happen. So yes, when you can break it down like that, sales, communication, everything, because you're working with the knowledge more, as you said, Rodney, more knowledge about the other person. How do you deliver in their format so that more can happen in your scenarios that you just brought out? I mean, so whether it's colors, whether it's, I've seen animals, all that stuff just helps bring it together. But you have to understand, you have to truly believe that you want to make a difference in their life before you can leverage this properly for both people instead of just yourself.
Yeah, and we went through 5 weeks of talking about networking, why the importance of networking, and all of those things. And I thought, man, this is just a great way to kind of add on to all of those discussions, to go, listen, the reason I like partnering with Dave and Jill and Julie, right, is because they bring perspectives about me and my business, and in my life and the things that I'm trying to do that maybe I've never thought about before, that I never heard before, that I probably needed to hear, right? And as well, I hope they feel the same way about our conversations. And so let's go on with introductions because we are running on time. Mr. Flood, go ahead.